Good morning from downtown Minneapolis. Monday, the A's got a much-needed win on the 4th of July. But last night, after a lengthy rain delay, Sean Manaea could not handle the power of the Twins, and the Green and Gold dropped Game 2. Today, it's Sonny Gray to the hill. He will try to bounce back from a frustrating performance last Friday versus the Pirates. It's the rubber game of the series, A's Twins, next. Well, bad weather will not be an issue today. It's a gorgeous day at Target Field. We got an early start. It's the rubber game of the series, and Sonny Gray is going to try to get the A's a series win here in Minneapolis. Game 3, it's the A's and the Twins, and it's coming up on CSN California. Well, good morning, everybody back in the Bay Area. Welcome to Oakland A's Baseball, along with Ray Fosse. I'm Glenn Kuiper. 16th start of the year for Sonny Gray. And Ray, I thought his last start was kind of the way it's been for Sonny this year. He gets a 3-0 lead early against the Pirates, and you're thinking, hey, this is perfect. He's going to shut him down, and he ends up taking the loss and does not pitch well.
And unfortunately starts to elevate his pitches, and that's when he gets hurt the most. That has been the problem. Hard to believe that his last 11 starts, he has not won. He's not won in his last 11. That's really hard to believe for Sonny Gray. And you look at his record, how poor it has been. And I think he gets to the point that he wants to win so he doesn't have to talk about losses. So maybe that will be the case today. But he is a player that probably is well rested. A late game last night, so maybe he got some sleep. Nobody else did. But let's hope he pitches well today.
The Twins are struggling this year, no secret there. But Ray, you mentioned last night about there's a core of young hitters that has a chance to be pretty good. We saw it last night when they banged out 11 runs.
Well, these guys are young and they are strong. Paul Molitor knows that if he has the patience, which he will. Vargas, how about this shot to left field? He also had a double. Smolinski almost caught it, could not come up with it. Kepler, the very next pitch against Sean Manaea. This left-hander was great. Vargas was great. Then Kepler, this swing unbelievable. A no-doubter into right field. But probably the biggest blow came against one later. Kepler and then Sano to right field, opposite field in a park where the ball normally does not carry very well. Those three made this park look very small last night, so let's hope that's not the case today.
So when it was all said and done, it was an 11-4 Twins win. So Sonny Gray against the veteran right-hander Ervin Santana in the rubber game of this series. Now keep it right here on CSN California. We will head back to the A's pregame live studios right after the break. Get you all set for the A's and the Twins today.
A's Baseball on CSN California is brought to you by Jack in the Box. It's back. The Portobello Mushroom Buttery Jack. Taste it before it's gone at Jack in the Box. And by Toyota, the full-line automaker with the longest-lasting vehicles in America. Toyota, let's go places.
Welcome back to Target Field on a beautiful day for baseball in Minneapolis. Rubber game of the series between the A's and the Twins. Twins have taken the field behind their starting pitcher Ervin Santana. Let's check the game time weather presented by the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Get to the beach. The admission-free boardwalk is open daily. It's 80 degrees. It's humid today. Just a light breeze and lots of blue skies above. I don't know what to say about that, Ray. Is it too early to comment on a gentleman with a hot dog on the top of his head?
Yes, especially
Yes.
he's probably selling hot dogs, and just think if he had a cheese head, even be better. Huh?
Yes, indeed. So let's look at the lineup for the Athletics today. Billy Burns will lead off in center. Jed Lowry at second. Josh Reddick in right. Chris Davis in left. Stephen Vogt, the All-Star, will hit fifth. Butler's the DH. Alonso at first. Simeon in short. Tyler Ladendorf will get the start at third. Danny Valencia has the day off.
And it is the veteran, the off-season signee of the Twins. That is Ervin Santana. He has pitched well against the A's throughout his career. Of course, with the Angels for many, many years when he first came up. But Ervin Santana, one start earlier in the season at the Coliseum. But he knows how to pitch and look for slider after slider because that's his go-to pitch, especially if he's in a count in which it's a fastball count. But he's a veteran, knows how to pitch. And the Twins hope he can pitch.
So Billy Burns steps in the box. We're set for baseball. Early start. 12:10 local time. Trying to think of teams that start their midweek day games at 12:10. I think the Indians do, don't they? If I remember correctly.
Yes.
There's a couple teams that start them nice and early. I'm fine with that.
Matter of fact, I want to say Steve Vucinich said that the Indians are playing 7:30 p.m. games also, which is, considering the length of games, we'll see if that happens when the A's do head back.
Little pop up on the infield, and Dozier grabs it, and that's how this ball game starts. Let's look at the defense for the Twins. As Grossman at left, Rosario in center, Kepler in right. Nunez is at third base today. Santana plays short. Dozier's at second. Mauer back in the lineup at first, with Juan Centeno doing the catching. So that's your defensive look for the Minnesota Twins. And the first pitch to Lowry is just a touch inside.
In the game that Santana pitched against the A's, it was Kendall Graveman's start on Memorial Day, and the A's won that game 3-2. As he went 7 innings, gave up the 3 runs.
In his career, 15-7 with a 2.10 ERA against the A's. So he was always tough on them when he was with the Angels.
And I continue to say thanks to Benji Molina, who was his catcher. Santana, a rookie, and Benji, like good catchers will do, kind of forced his pitcher to throw the pitches like the slider. He did, and it's been a great pitch for him throughout his career. There it is.
Yep.
Hit the bat.
Almost did. And quickly to first is Santana. So 2 away. So pitching against the Athletics. Lowest career ERA against the A's. Ervin Santana is first. Couple of your old teammates, right? Pat Dobson and Louis Tiant. You probably hit against Fritz Peterson.
Caught him too.
Did you?
Yeah, he was in Cleveland later, but Fritz is one. Felix, I'm glad I didn't have to face him. Fergie was good. Hall of Famer.
Dave Goltz. You must hit against Dave Goltz.
Probably. I just don't remember. But Pat Dobson, Dauber, actually, they were doing a story on the late Mark the Bird Fidrich.
I just saw that.
Because he started in '76, which would have been 50 years. And Pat Dobson was the pitcher for the Indians when we faced the Tigers and Fidrich in his debut in a packed house at Tiger Stadium. Just the beginning of greatness for the Bird, as they called him. Looked like
short-term greatness.
Yeah, that's right. He looked like Big Bird on Sesame Street. That's why he got the nickname
Mark the Bird Fittrich. But if anybody ever needed an attendance clause, the Bird was.
Reddick pops it up. Santana, the shortstop, waits. In an easy inning for Ervin Santana in the top of the first. Bottom of the first coming up. No score. A's and Twins. Sonny Gray back to work. Paul. Minnie on the left, Paul on the right. They're the Minneapolis Twins.
Oh, that's good knowledge, man.
Nunez, Grossman, Mauer, Dozier, Sano, Kepler, Rosario, Centeno, Santana. That's your Minnesota Twins starting lineup.
And well detailed and documented. Sonny Gray looking for his elusive win, the first since April the 22nd, May, June, and now July. No wins, and hard to believe this is his 12th start since his last win. And Cap, I think strongly that he's probably sick and tired of talking about bad things. Let's hope today he can talk about some good things and got it figured out. This is his last start before the All-Star break. And I would think Bob Melvin has some choices of who to start the Friday against Toronto at the Coliseum following the break. Sonny might be that one, but that's not a pitch you want to throw because that's elevated and keep the ball down.
Facing Nunez, Grossman, and Mauer here in the first. Eduardo Nunez, the all-star for the Twins, is playing third base today. First two games he was the shortstop. If it looks like to you Sonny Gray has a black eye, he does. He got hit by a ball, right?
Yes, yes he did.
And yesterday he had a little bandage on the bridge of his nose. Lowry backhands his throw to first in time. Nice play by the second baseman Jed Lowry.
That's a big out, and mainly because it looked like it was going up the middle in the center field. But watch Jed Lowry range to his right. Look at the throw as he throws across his body. How much extra he gets on it. Nice stretch by Alonso to keep the speed of Nunez off the bag. But nice range by Jed going to his right. And anytime you get a ground ball from a pitcher who wants to keep the ball down and get ground ball outs, you want to have those kind of plays. And Sonny Gray very happy to have the leadoff hitter off the bases.
Here's Grossman. First pitch, call the strike. Grossman is in left field today. Just a touch low. 1-1 the count. .280, 6 home runs for Grossman. He is a switch hitter.
Yeah, Cap, the one thing we've talked about, it's really helped Kendall Graveman, and a little bit upset with his break ball. Watch Stephen Vogt. He's down on one knee, but Sonny, that's not what he wants. And you really don't want to see the frustration because everybody sees that. And what happened with the Pirates in his last start, where he had the lead and then quickly it was gone.
And we usually don't see that from Sonny.
No, and you know the real issue is that you start thinking about, because there was a double hit down the line, he didn't even back up home plate. So you can see how many things are going through his mind when he does give up a hit and really punishing himself. So good breaking ball there for a strikeout.
Defensively for the Athletics, they look like this today. Davis, Burns, and Reddick in the outfield. Lindor, Simeon, Lowry, Alonso in the infield, and Stephen Vogt back behind the plate. So 2 outs for Joe Mauer. Mauer was not in the lineup last night. A couple hits on Monday afternoon. Hitting at .262 with 7 homers, 26 RBIs. Got 8 doubles, a couple of triples. Lots of walks as usual for Joe Mauer. That's the high on base percentage of .367. Simeon cannot quite come up with it, and it rolls into center field. A hard hit ball that was kind of a one hop, tough hop. And it should be a base hit for Joe Mauer, but we will wait.
Well, he's tapping his chest and saying to himself and to Sonny Gray he should have had it. And it was a ball that really got on him quickly, and the top spin, not making excuses. He thought he should have handled it, but the ball he had last night off the bat was a Sano that crushed the ball that went straight to him.
So they're going to give Joe Mauer a base hit.
I'd say that's a call that would be shocked if it wasn't.
Here's Dozier. Dozier's had a quiet series. He's 0 for 9. Pretty good hitter. 13 home runs, 41 RBIs.
Nice picture on their Diamond Vision here.
Oh yeah, that's right. They got the casual look.
Yeah, shirts provided by. So these are shirts that they're promoting for Brian Dozier. We saw Suzuki last night. Suzuki. It looks pretty neat, doesn't it?
I like that. I'll take one of those XL.
Just call Hammermade. Say, I'm Glenn Kuiper.
Yeah.
Send me some shirts.
I'm Glenn from the A's.
XL, double X, just how you want them fit. Well, July 17th, following the All-Star break, Brian Dozier, first leadoff home run that Sonny Gray had ever given up, and that was the game following the All-Star break. The Twins in the Bay Area. You saw Torrey Hunter, who announced his retirement after last year, waited in the on-deck circle.
So Dozier takes the 3-1 pitch high. 2 on, 2 out for Miguel Sano. I gotta believe, Ray, that the Twins missed Torrey Hunter. I mean, his production was still pretty good, but there's a lot of intangibles with
Absolutely.
Torrey Hunter.
Clubhouse presence. He wanted to come back here to finish his career where it started. He was a fantastic outfielder. Saw him in Anaheim when we were down there just recently. He was over visiting the home TV group, and hands still strong. And of course, he had a son, I think, signed professionally. He's got one playing football, but had a great career. The number 48, and very popular here in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, he hit 22 home runs last year and knocked in 81 runs. So he's still a pretty productive player. When it was all said and done, Torrey Hunter finished with 2,452 hits and 353 home runs and 9 Gold Gloves.
A very unselfish player. Remember when Mike Trout came and he said, listen, let Trout play center, I'll move to right field. And of course, that's a 9-time Gold Glover in center playing for the Twins, and he was very willing to do it for the team. Hit second.
And you know what, a guy like Torrey Hunter, terrific career. He never won a World Series.
That's right.
I know he tried Angels and the Tigers.
Now, this was Sano last night to opposite field off Liam Hendricks, and that was a big 3-run opposite field home run. as we showed in our open, the number of home runs hit by the Twins. If I were them, I'd been wearing the red jerseys again today.
Well, that's right. Dirty and all. May not have been time to wash them. Well, last night's game was 3 hours and 8 minutes. It started at 9:42. Is that right?
9:42. And your math was right on. And you had the exact time. How long it took. How many hours sleep you got last night or this morning?
2 till 8. That was my time frame. I did manage to get 6 hours of sleep, so that's not too bad.
And that's the sign of a veteran traveler that you packed before you got back.
Well,
you packed yesterday and sort of.
There was some blind packing being done last night, which probably is not pretty. 3-1 to Sano. Shift on, and he swings and misses. A little cutting action.
Yeah, that's a great pitch to throw 3-1 to a power hitter, and watch this right at the last moment right there, just takes off, and even had he made contact, it would have been off the end of the bat. You try to avoid the sweet part of the bat with a cutter. Stephen Vogt, who did not start last night, matter of fact didn't play last night, was named All-Star before the game, didn't play, and back there this afternoon.
Strike 3 call. Good pitch outside corner at the knees. So a couple of strikeouts and a couple of runners straining. So it's a 0-0 game after 1 here in Minneapolis.
He wants to play every day. That's Marcus Semien, but basically no sleep, quick turnaround, win a series. The A's have a chance to do that, and the biggest right there, get Sonny back on track, and good first inning for him, striking out a couple of batters, got a ground ball out. But Sonny Gray important to this ball club, and it'd be great to have him finish on a positive note before the break starts Monday. This will be his last start before the All-Star break.
Juan Centeno gets hit.
It's a direct hit foul straight back and got him underneath and on the left shoulder. So even though Centeno is a good player, having Kurt Suzuki not in the game, considering as hot as he's been, it's kind of neat for the A's today. Caught last night, not catching today.
2-1 to Chris Davis. 1-1, excuse me. 260 with 19 home runs and 53 RBIs for Chris Davis. This one's hit high in the air, foul territory. Mauer near the seats, and Mauer dropped it. So that could very well be in air.
Well, he's over near the rail and reached and got him on the heel of the glove. And boy, how many times you see that where the ball hit the heel and popped out. So he was given a hit on a short ball hit in front of Semien. He's given an error on this one. This one up on the board. Is that what they said? E3.
2-2 the count to Davis. Vogt to follow, and then Butler. He's went 3 up, 3 down in the top of the first inning. And Davis swings and misses at that slider, and that's the first strikeout for Santana.
With Chris Davis's power, seeing more and more pitchers doing this, throwing a slider and trying to get him to chase. And the one thing about Santana, and I know Darren Bush has told all the hitters, slider is his pitch. He said it back in Oakland on the Memorial Day holiday. He threw a lot of sliders, gave up 3 runs, got the loss, but he will feature the slider a lot.
So here's Vogt. Stephen Vogt at 267 with 6 home runs and 24 RBIs. He had a couple hits on Monday, 2 for 4. Scored a run, knocked in a run.
Big hit to left field to tie the game, which was a huge hit thanks to Rosario, who's in center today, played very deep in left on Monday. Yeah, Paul Molitor is moving these guys around, isn't he? Santana outfield, infield, Nunez short, third, Rosario left center.
Well, it's not very often you see a guy play left field one night and shortstop the next.
Exactly.
I mean, Santana does that.
And made the throw that he made last night.
And from what we've seen and what we've been told, he's pretty decent everywhere he plays. So that's a valuable guy to have. One and 2 to Vogt.
Well, last night, Jake Smolinski, none of us really could believe the throw that Santana made last night. Coco Crisp with a 2-strike hit and a perfect one-hop throw to Kurt Suzuki to nail Smolinski at the plate, and came up on his knees. Smolinski did the kind of look of, I can't believe that. And what a strong throw, perfectly to Suzuki, and Santana with a huge assist.
So full count.
You have to have a strong arm to play short, but that's exceptional. You have that kind of an arm for left field.
Different kind of arm, too.
There it is.
Strike 3 call. Vogt knew it. Back-to-back strikeouts here in the second inning by Ervin Santana.
They talk about pitching backwards in a case like this, which is 3-2 fastball count, but this is just Ervin Santana. This is nothing new for Santana throughout his career. He's done it from day one, and he will continue to do it. And as a hitter, you might as well think about it. Shorten your swing and think about the slider, because more than likely you're going to get it. Almost like Rich Hill, that he throws curveball almost exclusively 3-2.
First pitch to Butler. And that one, a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. So the breakdown for Santana. 49% fastballs, 37% sliders.
It's almost like a reliever coming in throwing a sinker slider.
There it is again.
2 pitches, and I think Santana realizes that most hitters are good fastball hitters, and if he can perfect this pitch, why wouldn't he throw it out of the strike zone? Ball bounced, is the same with Chris Davis, but got to swing and miss.
Butler asked for time.
Santana's probably going to tell Santana, listen, I just bounced the slider that he swung at, and I'm going to throw another one.
So they should be on the same page now. Santana way off the plate. So there's the fastball at 94 miles an hour. And that slider spun a little bit, stayed inside. Butler at 246 with a couple of home runs.
You got to be thinking outside. You see a slider, and Butler almost took it on the left elbow where he's protecting with a pad.
And now 3-2.
Third to Chris Davis, 2-2 count. Alonso waits, but Stephen Vogt got a slider, 3-2. Another 3-2 count to Billy Butler. Shook off a fastball. He's going to go fastball in after shaking off a slider.
That one's belted to center. Rosario backs up, reaches up, makes the catch. Side retired. 6 up, 6 down for Ervin Santana. No scores. We go to the bottom of the second. Is brought to you by AAA. Get a free Ace Cap with a new AAA membership. Visit a participating AAA branch by August 30th. Restrictions apply. That is the Harmon Killebrew statue. And you see right past him is the Kirby Puckett statue. That's a cool walk right there, isn't it, Ray?
It is.
It's out in right field,
Yep.
and you come in downtown, and you it's a cool entrance to the ballpark because you can see the ballpark very clearly as you're walking up. It's wide open. See, that's where you walk in right from there. Ballpark's in front of you. You got statues. It's one of my favorite things about this ballpark. That right field entrance. Yeah. It's kind of a nice touch.
Yeah, the walkway where you have those statues, and there are probably more pictures taken in front of Killebrew and Puckett than anybody.
And there's a giant baseball glove out there that you can sit in and take pictures. It's a very nice ballpark. Nice touch.
Well, they affectionately called him Herbie. Kent Hrbek is here today as number 14 retired, and talking about playing here, of course, at the Metrodome, winning championships.
Oh, 0-2 to Max Kepler. And Kepler drives him to right. Reddick back. Reddick's going to have just enough room. He goes into the shade of that overhang, and he makes the catch.
Well, the killer, number 3, Harmon Killebrew, and that trot was often, and boy, he hit some shots. That's Tiger Stadium, and the old Met where now Mall of America is.
That was Municipal Stadium.
That's
right there.
That's right. And this is his home park, and he hit some shots way upper deck, and a very good first baseman. injured his hamstring playing first base in the All-Star game. But many say that the Major League Baseball logo is him in his stance. The guy who designed it denies it, but I mean, it's a classic. It's so Harmon Killebrew-esque that you think that it's him.
Well, it's like the NBA. It's supposedly Jerry West, but nobody really fesses up that it is.
But I admit that I was back there and called some shots that he hit, and boy, what a gentleman. Worked for the A's on TV with the great late Bill King.
Good statue.
Yes, outstanding. You tell me that's not Harmon Killebrew. I mean, it's perfect, but
it's as much Harmon Killebrew as anybody.
That's right. And if you're going to design it, why not take one of the best all-time great players?
There's his career. The American League MVP in '69. 573 career home runs.
22 years in the Twins organization. You see that extension of his arms? He was not that tall. I mean, he was about 5'11", 6 feet, I'm guessing, but I know he was not very tall if you're looking at the power, but he generated from his lower body drop and drive, and man, could he hit him.
That's another great player that never won a World Series.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of those guys. You wish that everybody could experience it like you got to experience it twice.
Well, they came close against the Dodgers.
Yeah. 65.
Yeah.
Good pitch there up and into Rosario.
And it was the Twins team in 1968 that Catfish Hunter pitched his perfect game at the Coliseum.
Harmon's probably in the lineup.
Exactly. Tony Olivo. Yeah, there's some. And poor Tony, he does Spanish radio just a couple of days a week. Guess which night he worked last night?
I saw him here. He was hanging around late.
So what are you doing? He says, I'm waiting to broadcast. I went, oh, okay, of all nights, because he wasn't on Independence Day. He was right there, same place he is today, in the shade, talking baseball. He was doing that on the 4th of July. Last night he was in the broadcast booth, and back today in uniform out on the field.
1-2 the count with Juan Centeno to follow. Stephen Vogt blocked that one with his left arm.
Now 2 strikes, and that's what a catcher does. And Stephen Vogt means so much to this team, and as a result named to the American League All-Star team. And even though his numbers offensively not where they want, but what he does behind the plate is special.
Shallow left, and Davis straddling the foul line makes the catch. Well, a little Tony Oliva, we got that for you too.
Couple of knee replacements, and without bad knees, who knows what number 6 would have done. His number also retired, but a great hitter, great right fielder, one of the strongest arms in baseball. And you know the one thing he did, Keith, as a catcher, you could never give a target. As Tony, all-star, batting champion, he said he made in his first year $7,000. It's the major league minimum of $7,000. He wins a batting title, goes to 18. But he would swing. He kind of waggled the bat, but as he got ready to swing, that was the extension. But just as he got ready to swing, he'd bring the bat straight back and then be ready to hit, like a timing mechanism. But you could never put the target up. He'd knock your catcher's mitt off your hand. He did it one time, so I was sitting back there without a catcher's mitt. Fortunately, he hit it. But I learned at that point never to give a target until he was ready in the hitting position. That might be me. No, that's not me.
No?
No, that's not me.
No? All right.
No.
We saw that the catcher in that
I see.
replay that we showed of Tony Oliva. Thought maybe it was Ray. You would know yourself.
Yeah, I don't think that was me.
Check swing. No swing by Juan Centeno. Sonny Gray looking for a 3-up, 3-down inning, although he's thrown a fair amount of pitches in this inning.
See the hand?
Well, that's what I saw, because I know you used to put your hand.
You had to, because you had the no-break catcher's mitt.
Could have been a strike. Call the ball. 3-2. Sometimes it's fun when we show these highlights to look at the opposition.
Yeah, right.
3-2 pitch is a shot headed for the right field corner. Reddick picks it up right at the base of the wall, and Centeno with a 2-out double. Second hit for the Twins.
Trying to get him to chase some of the sliders. He would not do it. Did not get a call on the backdoor breaking ball. So 3-2. About thigh high, and Centeno looking fastball and got it and ripped it down the right field line. Going back to the Angels game, he had 7 3-2 counts. Sonny Gray did, and already today he's had 3.
Thus the 41 pitches so far. Here's Santana. He's a switch hitter. Strike on the outside corner. Looks like Field and Culberth probably has a good sized strike zone today, which I don't think any of us have any problem with that. Reynolds, Gonzalez, and Buckner round out the umpiring crew for today.
Well, I was thinking, Kipe, when we were talking about the players and quick turnaround. Umpires had a quick turnaround same way. C.B. Buckner at third base. He was behind the plate last night, early this morning. Field and Culberth, the crew chief at first, so he got the short straw for this afternoon. But CB last night behind the plate. Of course, they rotate from home, third, second, first, and then back to home. So you would think that getaway day for everybody, including the umpires. Swing the bat.
That one running in on Santana to keep the count 0-2. Centeno, the runner at second, he had the 2-out double. Outfield shallow for Santana. With the block. Sonny Gray, not an easy guy to catch.
No,
it's not that he's necessarily wild. He just he throws that hard curveball, and it's in the dirt a lot.
See, that one bouncing in the dirt, curveball is straight. It's not one that's kind of breaking to the side. Those are the hardest. You have to move laterally as a catcher. Try to get your body in front of it. But still, it bites so hard so late. And as a result, 13 wild pitches, most of the majors. Closest is 8. So that says a lot about his curveball thrown very hard.
1-2 pitch. That was a good one. Santana strikes out, and the side is retired. So 3 strikeouts in the first 2 innings for Sonny Gray. Third inning coming up. No score. Paul on CSN California is brought to you by Black Bear Diner. Feed your inner bear. You know what would have been good this morning, Ray, is a Black Bear Diner breakfast, because their breakfast,
They're great.
yeah, it's like the most food you could possibly eat before noon.
But you're right. They have a lot of great sweets, good breakfast, and it would have been nice to have it catered this morning
Yes,
here.
that's right.
You see, back in
got us something.
Minnesota, it's Menards. Save big money at Menards. That's what to talk about back here.
I heard that before.
Yeah.
Alonso grounds out.
Yeah, Ken Herbeck said he just did a grand opening. He is a local young man, Ken Herbeck. Said he did a grand opening. And, I mean, you hear that theme song, Save Big Money Menards.
Yeah.
And since the Twins aren't televised, and in case the fans in the Twin Cities are hearing our telecast, then we want to make sure that Menards is mentioned.
That's true.
You know,
That's true.
just give them a big mention, because they're
Keep everybody happy.
yeah, yeah.
Keep the Midwest happy. Here's Marcus Semien, 18 home runs. Speaking of keeping happy, see what the Twins did last night? I thought it was kind of cool. They did two things. In the first one, I'm sure other teams do it, but if you had a ticket to the game last night and you stayed for the game, they gave you, or you could exchange that ticket that you used for last night's game for another game.
That's beautiful.
So if you stayed, you
That's
basically
right.
get to go to a game for free, which
That's
I think
right.
is
That's
a pretty
outstanding.
good idea. And then remember when we saw the young family with the two little kids,
Yeah.
and they had the gloves on, and we said, those gloves, they got tags on those
That's
gloves.
right.
Well, find out this morning that some of the Twins workers handed out youth gloves to the kids
That's
in the
beautiful.
ballpark later in the game. So if you were still here
That's
and
great.
you were a youngster, you got a kid's glove. So
That's
when we
great.
showed those two kids last night, they still had the tags on the glove. Well, that's why, because the Twins gave out
Beautiful.
these youth gloves. So it was worth it if you stuck around last night, even though it was late. But if you did, you got a chance to exchange your ticket for another game. And today the kids are out in full force, way out in those seats in deep right center field and in the upper deck in left field.
And they could look out and see people parking in the garage next to them.
Yeah.
They're so high up and so close to that parking garage. But you know, last night, to your point, is a great night for foul ball. So maybe those kids, with those new gloves with the tag still on them,
That's what I'm saying.
they
So-
passed them out to give them a chance to get a foul ball.
But we chuckled when we saw
Oh,
the little
yeah.
guy
That's
last
great.
night. He had the tag on his glove, and now we know why.
That's great.
See, that whole right field section, which is very high above the high right field wall, it's full of kids today. Foul tip, hung on, and that is out number 2. So 3 strikeouts for Irvin Santana. He's got that good slider today,
Yeah,
Ray.
3 strikeouts on 3 sliders, and you know, it looks so inviting. You think I got a chance, and then just enough of an off-speed pitch that it fools the hitters. Sonny Gray has a much sharp breaking, biting curveball slider combination today. Irvin Santana more of the slower variety.
First pitch to Tyler Ladendorf. There it is again. He'll just keep throwing it. I mean, we've seen
will.
him. He'll throw it for 9 innings.
Yeah.
I think what makes it a good pitch for him, Ray, is I think he has the ability to throw it for a strike
Right.
if you don't swing at it.
That's a good point, because he can get you to chase it, as he did with Chris Davis, knowing that he could come back with it.
Pop up foul. Mauer will come over, and he will not have enough room.
So a guy getting ready to catch the ball. See, if he had left the tag on his mitt, he probably would have caught it. But he's in the concrete area, and once he missed it, watch how it bounces. Watch this. And then
Now, anytime you jump for a ball that's coming down toward you, that never works. Never works.
yeah, we've seen outfielders do it in front of the wall of the outfield.
Kepler has it. It's another 3-up, 3-down inning for Irvin Santana. Bottom of the 3rd coming up. No score. Insider Podcast is live on CSNCalifornia.com. Each week, our A's Insider Joe Stiglitz talks baseball with players, coaches, special guests, and much more. And this week, Joe's guest is former A's left-hander Mark Mulder. The A's Insider Podcast with Joe Stiglitz. It's on CSN California. It's also available on iTunes. That's the Capitol Building in St. Paul, Minnesota, which is just a little bit east of Minneapolis. But that is the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Base hit right field. Eduardo Nunez with a hard hit ground ball. So Nunez with a leadoff single.
Look at the location, not bad, except the slider didn't break. Stayed right in the middle of the plate, and when that happens, good hitters will take the ball to the opposite field. And I guess you could put Nunez in that category.
Yep. Here's Robbie Grossman. Also wanted to let you know that our A's Insider Podcast with Joe Stiglitz will have a new podcast up tomorrow, and that will be with Danny Valencia. So check that out at CSNCalifornia.com. Joe's also got a story up about Stephen Vogt and his selection to the All-Star game this year. So Joe's working hard, so go to the website and check out those. And again, Valencia's podcast will be up tomorrow.
What was it Stephen faced last year? Was it DeGrom from the Mets? Found out how hard he throws.
Very hard. Nunez took off, and now he's got to hustle back to first, and he gets there.
Now somebody probably yelled, "There he goes," and left-handed hitter. So he came out ready to throw and then realized that he was off and had taken off, came back. Stephen made a quick throw, just not enough time. Just as a reminder, with a left-handed hitter, the catcher is blocked. He cannot peripherally see the runner at first base, so he needs help from the dugout to yell when he does take off, so he can come out from behind the plate quickly enough to try to throw him out.
So 2-1 now to Grossman. Mauer to follow here in the bottom of the third. Right there for a strike. Keep an eye on Nunez. 19 steals. Only Altuve and Rajai Davis have more in the American League. Seen him bluff once. And now full count. Would imagine he'll be going here.
Yeah. Well, Sonny Gray can get strikeouts, which he has done tonight or this afternoon 3 times. But he also is capable of getting a ground ball. If you have speed, pretty good time to run.
Here he goes. Swing and a miss, and the ball pops out of the hand of Vogt. So it will be a stolen base for Nunez and a strikeout for Grossman.
But that's frustrating for a catcher, and for Stephen Vogt, that's happened a couple of times now in his last few starts, where trying to make the transfer and it just pops out. It's unusual for it to happen, but did get the strikeout. Good breaking ball. Stephen came up, looked like the ball was just enough in the webbing. You like to just take the hand right into the pocket of the catcher's mitt, but when it's in the webbing, it's totally different, and it looked like the slider. The tough part about catching Sonny, because the movement so much, ended up in the webbing, caught it, but couldn't transfer.
So here's Mauer, 1 out, runner in scoring position. Pick off and well executed by the A's, but Nunez was able to get back. That's the way you're supposed to do it. And a lot of times the pickoff at second, it's all about the throw, and this was a good throw by Sonny Gray.
You know, daylight, sneak in behind, watch Semien, and there are times that a catcher would just drop his catcher's mitt where the pitcher looks at the catcher as soon as he sees the infielder He drops the mitt, you turn, throw to second. But you work on it in spring training, and very rarely do you see it happen during the season. So he got there, good strong throw, but good base running by Nunez, going to the back of the bag with a hit for a slide.
And that's at play too, and you've talked about this on stolen base attempts. If you're the center fielder, you just have to come crashing in.
That's right.
You cannot let the runner go to third if the ball gets past the middle infield.
And you can't wait till the ball misses the infielder if it's a bad throw. Because once the throw is dedicated to a base, especially second, nothing's going to happen with the hitter. And so you have nothing to do except break.
Our slices one foul. So 1 and 2. Lauer had a base hit in the first inning. So he is now 3 for 4 with a walk in this series. Brian Dozier will be next. Sonny Gray now 58 pitches, 2 1/3. He's got 4 strikeouts. He's walked 1. A lot of pitches. Hit hard, and Semien grabs it in the air. Marcus Semien made a nice play simply because Nunez may have blocked him momentarily. Nunez had to avoid getting hit by that ball.
Semien goes over to his left, Nunez to the right, and you're right. And great concentration by Marcus Semien and good base running by Nunez to avoid being hit by the ball and also to get back to second safely. Of course, if he's hit, he's out. Joe Mauer gets a hit. That doesn't help because it would have only been a runner at first.
Here's Dozier. Dozier walked in the first inning. That's a thank you for not swinging, right?
I was thinking the same thing because
don't swing.
This is a hanger, and Dozier last year probably hits that 9 miles, but this year, at this point, still struggling a little bit. The A's would like to see him head to Arlington, Texas, and pick up his hitting. He's a good hitter, and rare that a second baseman is hitting cleanup.
Sinking fastball is low, so 2-1 to Dozier. Yeah, the Twins will head to Arlington. The A's will head to Houston. Be flying right next to each
other. Day games in Minnesota are always great on getaway days, but getting to the airport, so maybe the A's can follow the police escort of the Twins if they have one.
No question. 12-10 start helps a little bit.
Now the great Mickey Morabito will get it worked out, though. He's director of team travel. He's done it so many years. He knows exactly how to handle it.
So another walk to Dozier.
And really not a pitch around. And we talk about sometimes you pitch carefully to certain hitters, but Stephen Vogt out to talk to his pitcher and try to get him through this outing. Bob Melvin is frustrated about something. That look. You're talking about Dallaire coming out what, Monday morning 7 o'clock?
Yeah, our producer, director, graphics operators, the guys in the truck out here early again today.
And they came with Bob Melvin this morning.
That's right.
8:30. So they got a little bit extra time. Of Quick turnaround for the boys as well. Always prepared. That's why it's the best crew down in the truck. All the camera people and the main guys in the truck.
Strike to Miguel Sano, who struck out in the first. He is 1 for 9 in the series. Of course, that one hit was the 3-run homer last night late. Hit it out to right field.
Ooh. Sano's so big he didn't want to move.
He is big.
A fastball running up and in is almost said, hit me, I don't care. Talking to Suzuki, there's no batting practice today, and talking to Kurt in the clubhouse, some of these guys walked in, they're monsters, man. They are big guys.
6'4", 265 pounds is Miguel Sano, and he's only 23 years old.
Maybe still growing. Do you know who the best dress was? Fernando Abad.
Yeah, well, that's not a surprise.
He walked in, had a bow tie on, said, always like to look sharp on getaway days. And he lost about 25 pounds, looking great, and one of the mainstays in the Twins bullpen, Fernando Abad, formerly with the Athletics, a great left-hander.
I bet Fernando Abad would be attractive at the trade deadline.
That's true. Good point. At the Senator, Jerry Blevins now with the Mets. He was called the Senator. He dressed so dapperly whenever he was with the Athletics. Tall, thin one. Could eat 4 meals a day and never gain an ounce.
Fastball fouled straight back. Sonny came right at him, and now it's a full count. Stephen Vogt may have gotten hit a little bit.
Yes, he did. He was like a magnet right off the mask, but as he said, a lot of padding on his mask around the temple area, or the forehead, that is, and of course around the lower part, the chin, side of the head. So like Kurt Suzuki we showed last night, doesn't have the springs in his mask, but it's got a lot of padding.
Runners go. 3-2 pitch. Very close, but missed inside. So now the bases are loaded. It's going to be Max Kepler, the hitter. So he has not had an easy inning today. 22, 24, 24. Big difference there, nearly 100 points. The league is hitting against Sonny with runners in scoring position. 351 this year. Kepler had a good swing. The first pitch fastball.
Cap, we've talked about it before. You go into a series, a final game of a series, you're trying to win the series, and both teams feel they have their aces on the mound today. Santana's perfect through 3 innings. Sonny Gray has had base runners in the first 3 innings, and fortunately has gotten out of it so far. But flirting with danger, especially putting runners on with a free pass.
Outside corner, a strike, and it's a quick 0-2 to Kepler, who hit a fly ball to right field in the second. Consecutive starts without a win. Hard to believe. Sonny Gray, 11. In this century, Dallas Braden, Chris Bassett, the 2 guys that have gone longer. Hard to believe. April 22nd was his last win. It was against the Toronto Blue Jays in Toronto.
You saw Dallas Braden with 13. He was so upset with that number that he jumped out of an airplane on Monday or Sunday. I guess it was Sunday. He's down at I would not do that. I'm sorry. You free fall 100 feet, 200 feet before you pull the ripcord for the parachute. No way. But Dallas would, and he did. So another conversation. Stephen Vogt out to talk to his pitcher, and this is what a good catcher will do. He'll try to help a pitcher who might be struggling, and knowing that it's a big situation, and trying to discuss what they're going to try to do with a very good hitter, rookie Kepler. Maybe a hard slider down and in. Back foot, hard slider. He's got a couple of strikeouts on the pitch today.
One-two pitch. It was a breaking ball, but it stayed up and outside. 2-2 the count.
I think that's one of the problems that he has one in his mind he wants to do, but the mechanics somehow are not allowing him to do it.
Frustrating. Nunez at third, Dozier at second, Sano at first. They are ready to go on the crack of the bat. And that one chopped slowly. Lindorf has it across the diamond, and they get Kepler side retired. So the Twins leave the bases loaded in the bottom of the third. No scores. We head to the fourth.
Beer Float Day supported in part by Dexon, Dryers Ice Cream, Whole Foods Market, and Zivia. Set for Tuesday, July the 19th. That's after the All-Star break. A's players, coaches, local celebrities, and more will serve fans refreshing root beer floats for $3 each. Proceeds benefit JDRF, adding to the nearly $450,000 the event has raised throughout the years. Sugar-free floats will be available. Admission is free with a game ticket. Always a special day when partner Glenn Kuiper's out there serving root beer floats.
Big day.
Have a great day and making a lot of money for JDRF.
I'll be there.
You know, one of the best things at the A's Community Fund Golf Tournament held at Round Hill Country Club, root beer floats. On one of the holes, they had the orange root beer float.
Yeah,
those
give that a shot.
Yeah, I had one of those.
Time for the A's to get something going against Irvin Santana. Not been able to do that.
Now Billy attempted a bunt, which is not a bad idea.
2-1 to Burns, who popped out to the second baseman, and this one's popped in the air. Backing up is the shortstop Santana. He's waiting. 1 away. That's 10 in a row retired by Irvin Santana.
First All-Star game in 1933 on this date.
What happened?
Babe Ruth home run.
Did he call it? Probably did, right?
Well, it was a brainchild. I can't remember the gentleman's name. He went to the American National League and said, hey, midsummer, this is going to have a state fair in Chicago. They said, let's have an All-Star game. The best of the American, best of the National. And the Babe hit it. And ironically, 50 years later, Fred Lynn hit the first Grand Slam.
In Chicago.
In Chicago. Yeah. They had the 50th anniversary of the game at Chicago's Comiskey Park, and Fred Lynn off Atlee Hammaker, whose daughter is married to Jan Gomes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Lowry fouls that one off his foot.
I wonder if Jan says to his father, like, you know what? I would never have called that pitch to allow the grand slam.
I'm sure Adley really wants to hear that.
Probably doesn't, but it was a memorable time. Never before had there been a grand slam hit. And the inside the park home run hit at San Francisco by Ichiro. Hit off the bricks in right field and circled the bases. So they will have highlights leading up to the All-Star game, which is next Tuesday in San Diego. And Stephen Vogt, who will be representing the Athletics, extremely happy. But how appropriate for the Bambino to hit the first home run in All-Star history.
Yeah. I think the most popular baseball player ever. I think that would fit. He does that. Interesting side note from this year's All-Star game. Let's see if Lowry's able to hold up. Yes, he is. So the count 1-2. Lowry grounded out to short in the first inning. That one hard but foul. But one of the interesting sidebars to the All-Star game this year. Remember, it was in Cincinnati last year. This year in San Diego. Next year in Miami. And in 2018 it's in Washington.
Wait a minute, it's supposed to alternate.
It's not alternating. So that's 4 straight National League ballparks, right? Which means National League home team, they're going to bat last. If you bat last, you got a little advantage, right? Swing and a miss. Lowry strikes out on the ball moving away from him. Then a strikeout number 4 for Cincinnati.
So what are they doing? How are they doing that?
Well, so Major League Baseball doing the right thing. It's this ball working away from Lowry. So what they're doing this year in San Diego, the American League is the home team.
Wow. So as teams leave Sunday to go to San Diego, if they're on the road, they have to have their home whites already.
Steve Vucinich was made very much aware of that. He knew that, of course. Stephen Vogt needs his home uniform.
But did he know who it was going to be before they left?
Of course he did. He wouldn't tell us, though. So, from what I understand, then next year, National League home team. But in 2018, even though it's in Washington, the American League will be the home team. So they'll switch back and forth.
It's a good idea.
Well, yeah, it's. I mean, I think there's probably a small advantage batting last in a baseball game.
Absolutely. And since the game means something, home field advantage for the World Series, that's a good point to keep it at least somewhat equal, especially in 4 consecutive years. Normally it goes alternate American National, but those new parks that you mentioned will host the All-Star game.
So Miami next year, Washington in 2018. Reddick popped it up. Looks like Nunez is going to have a play. He does. So that's 12 up and 12 down for Ervin Santana. No score. Bottom of the 4th coming up.
Great.
Hey, everyone, what your pets think about, talk about, and what they do when you're not home. This summer, the secret is out. From the humans behind Despicable Me comes The Secret Life of Pets. It's in theater starting Friday. That looks awesome. Nobody knows what their pets do when they're gone.
But you know, Kipe, there's actually a device called PetCube that is like a video. You
Yeah?
can set it up to watch your pets.
Yeah, they'll find out about that, though, and they'll adjust.
They will, of course.
Of course they will.
The animals are smart enough. They will hide from the camera.
Scoreless game, bottom of the fourth inning. Rosario, Centeno, Santana. Sonny Gray has not allowed a run. He has wobbled a little bit. The Twins have stranded 6 through the first 3 innings.
The problem is that number at the top, 78, whereas they got Santana for 40. A little bit different pitch count, which means the danger zone.
Lowry knocks it down, picks it up, throws, and they just get Rosario, who's very fast. So 1 out here in the bottom of the fourth. There's a breakdown on that last 11 starts for Sonny Gray. Got off to a good start. He beat the White Sox, lost to the Angels, but then beat Kansas City and then won that game in Toronto. That's how it all started. But since then, nothing in the win column.
Remember, Sonny was supposed to be the opening night starter, had food poisoning and was not able to start. He started the third game, had 13 ground ball outs against the White Sox and Rodon in that game. And he's gone 7 innings. 1, 2, 3, and then 7 2/3 at Cincinnati, and that's it. And you expect more than the guy. You'd like to see 7+, if not even complete games, which are rare in today's game anyway. Sonny's capable of doing it.
So 1-1 the count to Centeno, who had a 2-out double in the second inning into the right field corner. Good pitch there, right at the knees, 1-2. Tigers are beating up on the Indians this afternoon in Cleveland, 8-2. So they're trying to beat the Indians for the first time. Indians 11-0 against Detroit this year. 7th inning at Progressive Field. Couple of National League games going on. But everything else is tonight or a little bit later this afternoon. 3-2 the count to Centeno. Indians have also won 13 consecutive home games, so that streak is in jeopardy. 3-2 pitch, taps slowly to Lowry, and grabs it, and that's the second out.
3-2 to Centeno in his first at bat. Got a fastball down the middle. Sonny Gray made a great pitch this time. Then he rolled over looking for the same fastball, but a pitcher's pitch and an easy ground ball to the second baseman. That's the difference of location. The only difference for Sonny, for Centeno, the catcher today, that's 12 pitches he's thrown to him back-to-back at bats. 3-2 count.
First pitch to Santana, bounced in the hole under the glove of Lowry. He got a little leather on it, so that'll be a base hit. So hit number 4.
Sonny going over, probably thinking I got a cover, and then ran so fast he left his shoe on the mound. Watch him take off right here. As he planted his left foot, the shoe left his foot. But if the ball had been caught by the first baseman, he'd been there to cover.
Yes, he would have.
Shoot us, Joe Sonny.
So here's Nunez. Danny Santana has 11 steals, so you got to watch him at first. He's also been thrown out 7 times. Twins have 56 stolen bases on the season. That's the 3rd most in the American League. Indians and the Astros have the most steals. Nunez has a ground out and he has a base hit. He is 3 for 11 in this series.
The picture for Nunez on their jumbotron in his all-star practice jersey. They presented, Paul Molitor presented it to him today, and he's on the board. He'll represent the Twins in the all-star game next Tuesday.
Sonny Gray grabs it. He'll take it himself. Steps on the bag. 1 unassisted. Side retired. So hitting runner left, and we're moving to the 5th. Still no score. A's and Twins.
With the MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up to the moment, any moment, with game day, live game video highlights, StatCast news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and your tablet. Walleye, that's a fish. So they have fish sandwiches.
Yeah, and they have pork chops on a stick, too. Which I've never seen that before. It's probably good.
Heard of corn dogs on a stick. Got a couple of grandsons that love corn dogs.
Yeah. Try that out. Pork chop on a stick.
Yeah, that is a new one. Not new. It's Centennial down on one knee. That is low. That's Tony Pena type. Getting down as low as he gets. Actually sits down almost behind the plate to give a low target for his pitcher. Doesn't do it all the time, but when he does, it's remarkable the flexibility he has in his legs to be able to get down that low.
1-1 the count to Chris Davis.
Yeah, a little different on this one. Usually fastball in, he stays upright.
Nunez charges. It's the short hop and throws out Chris Davis. So 1 out. Tonight at 5, Jim Kozimor, the great Jim Kozimor, hosts the Bay Area's best sports talk show presented by Comcast Business Class. It is Sports Talk Live. Warriors insider Monty Poole, Marcus Thompson, so they will talk about Warriors, Kevin Durant, and the rest of the NBA, and much, much more. Sports Talk Live starting at 5 o'clock on CSN Bay Area tonight. First pitch to Vogt in first strike.
And a 3-2 slider to Stephen Vogt that he struck out his first at bat. And he got a hittable fastball first time, but maybe because the slider 3-2, he's thinking he's going to get it. That's what a good slider would do. There's Centeno down. See, on the slider, he gets down low. So maybe he's tipping his pitches. If you want to watch him, if he gets down low like that on a slider, whereas with a fastball, he sits upright. There is the catcher spread out, and here comes a breaking ball.
All right, we got something to watch for.
Let's see if we can see it.
Thanks to the eyes of Ray Fosse.
So Stephen does it up until 2 strikes regardless of the pitch, just to try to get his pitcher down in the zone.
So Butler will hit. 2 outs here in the 5th inning. Butler hit a fly ball to center field in the 2nd inning.
Should be a fastball in.
And it is. And it's a little too far in.
This is kind of fun. Watch catchers to see what they're doing. Now this is target away. I bet this is a slider.
And it was. So that time he did not go down in that low crouch.
But I think that was more for a strike. See if he does with the chase up to 2 strikes. He can't do it with 2 strikes. He has to be ready to block a ball. Butler swung at a slider in the dirt his previous at bat. Fastball in. So usually when a catcher with a right-handed hitter, right-handed pitcher, moves inside, very rarely is it anything but a fastball.
Yeah, what else would you throw?
Yeah, I mean, there's no more Mariano Rivera cut fastballs. Another heater. Oh, front. There's your front door cutter or slider.
It was close.
Yeah, this is the inside, or the front door as they call it, going inside of the right-hander.
The 3-1 pitch is a good one. 3-2. I think that tells you right there how he feels about that pitch.
That's right, and even more so if he throws it now. But he's got a perfect game on the line. Let's go on slider again.
Yeah, that one was a decent pitch to hit for Butler.
You know, this is the dilemma, and Santana, all pitchers know when they have a perfect game. And also, perfect game, no hitter. So if you throw a chase slider and he doesn't chase it, it's a walk, ends a perfect game, keeps the no-hitter intact. So, but the confidence he has in his slider. Oh, this is interesting with 2 strikes.
And there's a shot to left, and it is off the wall. Bounces back toward the infield. Grossman will pick it up, and the A's have their first hit. It's a 2-out double for Butler.
Fortunately, the ball Karen Pack passed the left fielder, because had it not, Butler might have had a tough time. But fastball, he wanted it down, it floated back in the inner part of the plate, so Billy Butler had to hustle because the ball hit hard, came back.
It did miss a home run by a whole lot.
Yeah, with 2 outs, that would have been great to get one.
So here's Yonder Alonso. First pitch is low to Alonso, who grounded out to first in his first at bat.
Well, first base runner for the A's. First time the A's, the base runners in scoring position. So Alonso, the first hit by Butler. Santana out of the stretch for the first time.
And now 2-0.
Alonso might not get a pitch to hit. First base is open, right-hander in the on-deck circle, and Goes backdoor with a slider to Alonso. He stays out there. Pretty good indication he's trying to pitch him carefully.
And now 3-0.
Green light.
Why not? And he does have the green light. He drills one toward left center, but it's going to hang up. And Rosario makes the catch. Side retired. So the A's get their first hit. It's a Butler double. He is stranded at second base. September 16th of 1996. That's Paul Molitor, and this is his 3,000th career hit. It was a triple in Kansas City. He's the only player to get his 3,000th hit with a triple. He finished his career with 3,319 hits. Wow. Won a World Series in Toronto. He was the MVP of that World Series. Over 600 doubles. Brewers, Blue Jays, Twins. His final 3 seasons of his big league career were right here in Minnesota.
Yeah, why not come home? And of course, he worked in the organization, named manager last year, the familiar number 4. Terry Steinbach also came back, finished his career here after growing up in New Ulm, Minnesota, just a little bit north, I think.
Well, Paul Molitor not only born here, grew up here, he went to the University of Minnesota, which is very close.
Is that where the Vikings played their football games until their new stadium this fall?
Yeah.
Nice of them to let them play.
Yeah, that was outdoor. They're moving indoor.
They say the first event is a soccer game, which is a grass field.
Oh, really?
And then after the grass, after the soccer, they put in the artificial, the field turf.
I walked by it a couple days ago, and it's just about ready. They're just kind of putting the finishing touches on it. U.S. Bank Stadium. So a leadoff walk for Robbie Grossman, and it's walk number 4 for Sonny Gray. It's just not going to be easy for Sonny to do.
No. I was thinking about the great George Toma, who was a groundskeeper for the Royals and also did the Super Bowls. In '86, he was actually growing grass on the turf because they're going to play a soccer game. And he said that soccer demands that it be on grass and not turfs. And so when they said that about this stadium, the new football stadium, it would have grass, and it's tough to grow grass indoors unless you have the huge lights. Or take it out like they do in Arizona, just roll it out.
Roll it out. Yep, slide it out.
Yeah.
Just push it. Get a couple guys, just push it.
Let the 110-degree temperature beat down on it and grow it and put it back inside.
0-1 the count to Joe Mauer, who has singled and lined out. Well, the city of Minneapolis is going, because of that new stadium, they're going to get a Super Bowl in a couple years, and that's a big deal.
That's a huge deal.
Financially, it's a huge deal.
Isn't it in Houston coming up?
Houston is this year.
We've seen a lot of construction in downtown and remodeling of hotels in downtown Houston. And I guess you have to have so many rooms for the Super Bowl, and the commitment is there.
Mauer, a shot into left center field. That's a base hit. That could be trouble. Grossman's fast. The ball rolls all the way to the wall. Grossman rounds third, and the Twins are going to take the lead on Mauer's double. Now, once that ball got between Davis and Burns, you had a pretty good idea that Grossman was going to score.
And you would think with all the rain yesterday and last night that it would not take off the way it did, but that's a patented Joe Mauer swing there. Over the head of Semien into left center, playing relatively shallow, and it did shoot through the gap into left center field, and Grossman waiting to see Semien is going to catch it, then had start again, and with the ball going to the wall. That is the difference right there. And Bob Melvin out now to talk to his pitcher, and this is unusual. There is Joe Mauer, 40 opposite field hits, and the one thing about Joe Mauer, and he actually said today that he's surprised the fences are as deep as they are in left field considering where they were at the Metrodome. We talked about it in this series, and he actually said their scientists have come up with a theory that during the summer months in downtown Minneapolis, there's a strong wind that blows in from right field that prevents a lot of balls from traveling.
Interesting.
But I don't know if the Twins would ever do it. I mean, he is their man, and he had a lot of home runs in the Metrodome, but not here. That's just as big. That ball he drove to left center.
Third time through the lineup for Sonny Gray. League's hitting .333 against him.
With the 96 pitches, and if you get that many pitches in the 5th inning, and that is why Sapczynski is warming up. He started, actually, this inning began because Sonny started with 90 pitches in this inning.
A little bit outside to Dozier, 1-1.
So a walk finally cost the A's, because that's the 4th walk leading off this inning, and Grossman scores in front of the double.
Twins have now got 13 walks in this series. Dozier popped it up. Semien waiting. He's got it. So Dozier will not be thrilled with that at bat after walking in his first 2 at bats today.
Matador threw up his hands. He evidently did not see the ball off the bat. Fortunately, it was Semien who had a better angle and did pick it up.
So with 1 out, Miguel Sano will step up. Sano has struck out and walked. First pitch, down and away. So pitch number 100 coming up. In his first 15 starts, Sonny went over 100 pitches 4 times. And that one's popped up. Reddick toward the line. Reddick waits, and he's got it. 2 away.
The beloved worldwide phenomenon of Hello Kitty is back. Add to your collection with this year's version of Hello Kitty dressed to the nines in full A's catcher's gear. At the Saturday, July 16 game against the Blue Jays, 15,000 fans can pick up and hug their very own Hello Kitty bobblehead. Visit athletics.com/tickets today. You know how popular it was last year. Add some catching gear to it, and extremely popular this year.
Did they check with you on the catcher's gear?
No, they just went straight to it. They don't have the removable mask like they did with Kendall's.
Yeah, but I thought maybe they checked you a little bit because your bobblehead had the catcher's gear.
Well, they only did that because they didn't know who was going to be here in 2012. When
yeah, that's true.
You know, Ricky, MC Hammer, and me. I think that's a dead giveaway We do not know who's going to be here, so since it takes a long time, let's do that. So it was a nice honor to put a microphone in the hand of the catcher's mitt.
It's still one of my favorite sights from my household.
Right.
When my daughter, this was what, 3-4 years ago, so she was 4, and I looked up and she was playing with the Ray Fosse bobblehead and the Lucy from Charlie Brown dressed in a Giants uniform bobblehead.
Wow.
So it was, I told her, I said, that's not gonna work. Ray's not gonna want to do that.
Oh, it's
she's in the wrong uniform. Just
that's what Tommy Adza finds, when you have an A's and a Giants fan sitting side by side,
I know, it's just, it just didn't, it was not working, so she changed it up. I think she grabbed MC Hammer, and you guys were great the rest of the afternoon. One and two the count to Max Kepler. It would be a pretty good feat by Sonny Gray to keep this just to 1 run. As Mauer was at second base with nobody out after knocking in the run. And he does, as he gets the swinging strikeout from Kepler. So 5th strikeout, but a run for the Twins. So we are headed to the top of the 6th. It's now Twins 1, A's nothing. Brought to you by Roaring Camp Railroads. You'll never outgrow the kid inside. That's why everyone rides for the Kids Fair weekdays after 2 p.m. How's our hot dog guy doing? He's selling a bunch today.
But the cheesehead would go work with the hot dog and cheese
not
dog. Cheese dog? It'd melt it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think the cheesehead here in Minneapolis would not be popular.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Didn't think about that.
they don't get along.
Same division, right?
Yeah, they just don't like each other. You would not want to wear a cheesehead through this stadium. That would not be a very good idea at all.
Nobody would know better than you, though. That's Wisconsin, Minnesota.
Yeah. Kind of like the neighbors that you don't really want to talk to. Just everybody's got those neighbors. Just joking. Sonny Gray, 5 innings, 104 pitches. Gave up just the 1 run. Marcus Semien swings and misses. Marcus looks frustrated. Almost like you're facing a pitcher that you just aren't seeing him well. That's kind of what it looks like with Semien.
Well, and to know that you're going to get a lot of sliders, various speeds, and that's what Santana has done. He threw a slower version of the slider to Semien in his first at bat when he struck him out on a 2-2 slider. one of the things about the great game of baseball, I mean, it's been around as long as baseball has been around. If you hit certain pitches, you don't get those pitches until you prove you can hit the other pitches that a pitcher might throw. In this case, sliders from Santana. I think Chris Davis is a great example. He's been hitting fastballs. He's been seeing a lot of sliders lately. Marcus Semien, fastballs, hit a slider from Samardzija.
There's a shot toward left, but hustling over is Grossman. He got a good jump. A well-struck ball by Ladendorf. So now the leadoff man steps up. That's Burns. Burns has popped out to second and popped out to short. Burns 0 for 4 in this series. First pitch on the ground, and that is a very easy inning for Ervin Santana. So he is rolling along. Bottom of the 6th coming up. It's the Twins 1 and the A's 0. Brought to you by T-Mobile. Most consecutive errorless games in Oakland history. The A's have a chance to tie it today. They have gone 11 straight games without making an error. They have been playing much better defensively. So they get it today, they'll tie the 2002 team. Overall 53 errors. They no longer have made the most in the American League. The Twins have. So it's always nice to see when a team starts to correct something that's been a problem. And the defense was a little shaky early on, but it has gotten better. Semien with just 8 errors on the year. Ladendorf, Semien, and nobody's going to get it. Be careful. So just out of the reach of a couple guys.
Semien going to the slide. He get underneath Ladendorf as he jumped over him. Tyler with his back to the infield, and Semien, as he reached out, Semien probably a better angle, but because of the possible collision, he went in the slide. Sonny at 106 in his start in Anaheim. Came out of the game, had the 6-2 lead. That was a week ago Sunday. And of course, they not able to hang on to win. Last 3 innings, the Angels scored.
Burns comes in and grabs it. Well, I like the fact that he's back out there.
I was just going to say the fact that he has been struggling. I mean, he's had a base runner on every inning. 2, 1, 3, 1, 1. That's left on base for the Twins in the first 5. So the first out in this inning. But no, I think it's great. You know, forget about the pitch count. How do you feel? Are you making pitches? And Bob Melvin talking to his pitching coach Curt Young. And I think from those guys' standpoint, they'd love to see Sonny at least feel good when he does leave the game.
Sonny Gray off the mound, fires to first. Nice play, 2 outs. Well, plus you'd like to give him a chance to get a win.
Yeah.
Get through this inning. Maybe the A's score a couple runs.
Well, he's very quick off the mound, covering first base, or in this case, fielding a bunt, cut, plant, throw, easy out.
So 5 in a row retired by Gray, and here's Danny Santana. Most pitches he has thrown in a game this year is 114. That was back in April against the Royals.
And his velocity is still good. His fastball is still good, and slider, curveball working well. Gets through this inning. Who knows? Maybe comes back out next day.
So 0-2 the count to Santana, the shortstop. Tigers now leading the Indians 12-2 in the 8th inning. Line drive toward right center. Nobody's going to get it. Reddick picks it up clean, and Santana speeds into second with a double. Hit number 6 for the Twins, and another runner in scoring position.
Well, it's 2 strike, and to be able to hit this curveball, he did not get it down and stayed up just enough. He wanted really a chase curveball, maybe in the ground, in the dirt, and he left it up just enough for Santana to hit it in the gap, and with his speed, easily into second.
So the Twins with 3 doubles today. They have 8 doubles in this series.
He had 4 pitches, 2 outs, 0-2 to Santana. Now out of the stretch again.
And you got to face Nunez. A little bit high with the fastball. Nunez a ground out, a single, and a ground out. Zimzinski was up last inning. He's up again this inning. Bounce to third. Landorf for the big hop. Side retired. A double, and Santana is stranded at second. So we are headed to the 7th inning. 1-0 Twins. brought to you by your Bay Area Hyundai dealers. Great deals on amazing cars are going on now at your Hyundai dealer. Visit buyhyundai.com today. That is right outside the ballpark. A little rapid transit for you. So Sonny Gray, pretty good outing as he really battled today. And the A's got a battle offensively. They've had just one hit in this game. It was a 2-out double in the 5th by Butler. No walks, 5 strikeouts for Ervin Santana, 74 pitches. So he has been terrific so far. Santana in the 2nd year of the 4-year contract that he signed with the Twins. So he signed through 2018.
Remarkably, the Twins had the year they had last year with missing the first half of the season, first 81 games, 80 games.
He ended up making 17 starts last year, was 75.
This year trying to lead this club, coming off an outstanding season last year, so close to going to postseason, and just has not been the same for them. In fact, his number 54 is how many losses they had coming into the series.
And the 1-2 pitch off speed, and that's a swing and a miss by Lowry. 6 strikeouts now for Santana.
All sliders with the exception of one fastball, and that was to Butler. Actually, now that was to maybe they're all sliders. He only throws his fastball for a show pitch.
Here's Reddick. Reddick goes after the first pitch, bounces it to Dozier, who slides to his right, makes the play. Reddick is retired quickly. I would think Ray Santana, even though there's quite a bit of money on his contract, he could be attractive at the trade deadline. Now his numbers are not great this year, 2-7, and he's still a quality pitcher.
And I hope people don't get me wrong when I say $12 million a year is a good bargain. But in today's world,
yeah, I mean
it
starting
is.
pitcher,
yeah,
quality guy.
If he makes 34, 35 starts, and considering what some pitchers are making in baseball, it's a reasonable contract for somebody to acquire. And if the Twins could, considering where they are this year, what they're trying to do, probably build around their offense, they may want to part. And I think your point last night with the money devoted to 3 players, 50%, almost 50% of their total payroll, maybe it'd be something they would consider. Joe Mauer, no, and probably couldn't move Nolasco, although he pitched well the other day. Santana and for a team that may be looking for a 3 or 4 starter.
Yep, he's got 128 career wins. And a 1-2 pitch. Davis swings and misses. Davis slams his bat down, flips his helmet, and it has been a frustrating afternoon for the A's offense. 1-0 Twins. 25 seasons ago, the Twins captured their second World Series title, maybe the greatest World Series of all time. 5 games decided by 1 run, and that was the game winner in Game 7. Gene Larkin drove home Dan Gladden with the only run in the game. It was a 1-0 final. Jack Morris was named the MVP of the World Series. He won Game 1 and Game 7.
And you know who was not going to leave that Game 7 was Jack Morris.
Nope.
And no matter how many innings it was going to take, he was going to go out, and he saw the pump. And of course, Dan Gladden, a couple of boosts down on radio for the Twins, scoring that winning run, wearing the number 32. Man from Glad. And Mark Szybczynski is coming in kind of like everyday Eddie Guardado down on the Twins bullpen, the former reliever closer for the Twins. Szybczynski getting a chance to pitch a lot.
So when it's time for change, think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service, your oil change, tune-up, and smog experts. Szybczynski to face Grossman, Mauer, and Dozier here in the bottom of the 7th. So Sonny Gray, 6 hits, 1 run, 4 walks, and 5 strikeouts. And the Twins stranded 9 runners in the first 6 innings.
Well, those 6 hits, coincidentally, 1 hit in 6 innings, 1 inning per inning for the 6th that Sonny pitched. And unfortunately, 1 of the 4 walks and 1 of the 6 hits was his demise in the 5th with a leadoff walk and a double by Joe Mauer.
So 3-1 the count now to Grossman.
And that note we showed earlier about consecutive starts without a win, Sonny won't get a win today,
nope,
regardless. So he did pitch the 6th, which is outstanding, and looked like he's back on track. But just too many pitches. He did pitch 6 and 113.
3-1 pitch is low, and it's a leadoff walk. Well, this is Game 6 of the 1991 World Series. That was an unbelievable game.
How about this catch up on the plexiglass in left center field by the great Kirby Puckett. The Hall of Famer, talk about some leaping ability and hang time.
Timed it perfect.
Oh, didn't he? The number 34 retired in the Hall of Fame, Kirby Puckett.
Yeah, he wasn't done in that game yet.
No.
He had just a little bit more business to take care of that night.
I think for him to say, jump on my back, and man, did they. He had a big back to jump on, and he could talk the talk and walk the walk. He could do it all. Play center field, and he could cover some ground. So much life. His life ended too soon.
The Twins, 3 trips to the World Series in their 56 years of existence. They won in '87 and '91. They lost in 1965 to the Dodgers.
But after the '87, they started all over.
They did.
And then came back to win it again 4 years later under the same manager, Tom Kelly, but a different team.
In '87, they beat the Cardinals.
Yeah.
That was the World Series where the home team won
every game. 6-time Gold Glove winner, center field, 91 ALCS MVP. And what he did in 12 seasons with his hit total, I mean, 200 hits 4 consecutive times. I mean, that 4 times. So I mean, that says a lot about his ability to swing the bat. He had that front leg kick, lifted it straight up and then dropped it, and he could hammer the ball. And it was Kirby Puckett who, when he and Chili Davis were teammates, actually they were teammates in Chile when he went to the Angels, had an entire season without a sack fly, drove in over 100. And he said that every time Kirby Puckett would yell at him, he said, we don't want no sacrifice fly, we want to hit. And that's every time Chili hit. And they carried that over into the Angels when he went there and did not have a sack fly. That's remarkable. To drive in over 100 without a sack fly. Kirby Puckett and Ron Washington, as we mentioned before, were roommates. The first time that Kirby joined the Twins, they were in Anaheim. He got off the plane They took him to Los Angeles. He took all his money to get his cab to go back to Anaheim. Went 5 for 5 his first game. Tom Kelly said, well, I said, I had a single room. TK said, no, I need him to room with you because you need to teach him about Major League Baseball.
Bounced into right field, and that's a base hit. Grossman will round second. He's going to try for third. Throw is cut off, and the Twins have first and third. Nobody out here in the bottom of the seventh.
And the worst guy to come to the plate. But here's what you're talking about, Kite, about Kirby Puckett.
He'll be followed by Davis and then back. Into deep left center from Mitchell. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
How about that? There's Jelly right there at 44.
I think it was a little loud in that building, didn't it?
How about the great call by the great Jack Buck? And we'll see you tomorrow night.
So John Axford's coming in. We got a pitching change here at Target Field. On CSN California is brought to you by Black Bear Diner. Feed your inner bear. That's that walkway we were talking about heading into the ballpark. That's the statue of Kirby Puckett.
And there's that fist pump after you hit the home run when he rounded first base. That's a great shot.
That's the shot. Good stuff.
Yes, absolutely. You guys did a great job putting all that together. And so showed some great memories of the past, some of the great Carmen Killebrew, Tony Olivo, and of course the World Championships in '87-91. Now the A's trying to cut down the runner at third base. It was Grossman who walked in the 5th inning and also in the 7th this inning. He scored the only run.
Dozier bounces one in the hole. Simeon coming home. Good throw, and they got him.
Perfect.
Nice play by Marcus Simeon. And they indeed get Grossman at the plate.
Paul Molitor on a check at any time there's a home plate. They're going to try, but Marcus was not going to do anything except that play, playing halfway, but he has to go to his right. And yes, the throw was outstanding with the runner coming down, and Grossman maybe thinking he got around the tag, but what a play by Marcus Simeon. What a great throw. Stephen Vogt with the catch. Hopefully he tagged him, and they think yes, because he did. It got him just enough right in the chest before he got the plate. And what a great play to cut down the lead run. And you know what, Kai? We've always talked about it as far as when you have a runner at third base. But again, watch the throw and the tag by Stephen Vogt. He catches it in front, makes the tag on the slide by Grossman. He thought it was safe, but in reality, he should never have run. They were not going to turn a double play. They may have gotten the runner at second, but at worst, he would have still been at third. And you only run if you think it's going to be a double play. It was not. He took off, and a great play by Marcus to get him at the plate.
So now first and second, 1 out. So Axford trying to get Miguel Sano. Axford seen his ERA jump up to 5.51. Sano has struck out, walked, and hit a fly ball to right field. Mauer at second, Dozier at first. Shift is on for Sano. Seven hits in the game for the Twins. The A's have just one. It's been a little bit too much Irvin Santana so far. Still only 1-0. A little bit outside. He missed by much. 2-1. Max Kepler will be next.
Amazing thing about some of the takes by the Twins, these are pretty good pitchers' pitches, and for young players, they like to think of their aggressiveness, but yet they've been somewhat patient, especially with some pitches thrown. That last one, a good indication of a power hitter laying off a pitch.
He does again. And now Sano in a hitter's count at 3-1. Twins are 10th in the league in total runs scored. 353 coming into today. The 3-1 pitch is just looped into right field for a hit. And they're going to hold up Joe Mauer as Reddick's throw comes in. So now the bases are loaded.
Same pitch that he got that he took, but on 3-1, the same cut fastball from Axford. Watch his ball off the end of the bat, and with one out, Joe Mauer didn't read it, or he read it and did not have the speed to score, thanks to the strong arm by Josh Reddick. So another ground ball, and the A's can get out of the inning for a double play. Mauer thinking about scoring, but was held up. Sano got a hit, thought he had a ribby, but it did not happen. Now the A's will play back for two. Similar to the ball to Semien. He'll go for the double play.
Kepler checked his swing. No, and he went around. CB Buckner says, yes, you did.
Well, this is what CB saw, and CB thought he went through too far, across the plate with the swing.
Kepler is 1 for 10 in this series.
John Axford trying a little bit of everything. He's got the pant legs up high with the striped socks. Whatever it takes.
In the air, but into the seats down the left field line.
Last night saw Manaea get ahead 0-2 with Kepler and fastballs away. Kepler wouldn't offer at them, but yet when he got the fastball in from Manaea, a home run. So pretty disciplined hitter the left-hander is, as Manaea gave up a couple last night back to back. Good learning experience from Manaea, as he's made just his second start since coming back from the DL.
That one is low at 97 miles an hour. This is Kepler's only hit in the series, a home run.
Look at the location of the pitch. Inner half, and not exactly where McBride wanted it, and Kepler didn't miss it.
Two pitch is not close, and now full count. Eddie Rosario, another left-handed hitter, is in the on-deck circle. Three-two pitch. High fastball, foul back. Too close to take.
Yeah.
Although it may have been a little up.
Vogt were just hoping that Kepler might get a little bit anxious with a pitch and go after a pitch to where he hits a ground ball. And that's what the A's are hopeful of getting, a double play. A walk, a single, fielder's choice, and a base hit. Loaded the bases, and especially having Mauer stop at third, like to get a double play and make that prove beneficial with a strong throw by Reddick.
So another 3-2 to Kepler. And it's low and walked in a run. So Mauer will trot in to score, and it's 2-0 Twins.
Six walks in the game for the A's pitchers.
So Kepler gets his 26th RBI.
Certainly cut fastball, but it wasn't close enough for him to chase it. Quickly, somebody's starting to get loose in the A's bullpen. The other lefty, which should have been Schuster.
Yep. Still only one out here in the 7th inning. So Dozier now at third, Sano at second, Kepler at first.
Got a little speed in Rosario, so it's going to have to be hit hard at one of the infielders. And the A's to turn the double play. It's something they're looking for now.
Swing and a miss. Exford off speed pitch. Rosario is 0 for 3 and 1 for 7 in the series. Very good speed. Takes that one at 95, but low. Exford just has really struggled as of late. And he is in a tough spot right here.
It's been a big surprise. It's just kind of the release point, because his fastball, curveball, cutter, all pitches are still good.
And that one's high, 2-1. So Rosario ahead in the count, 2-1. Juan Centeno is your on-deck hitter, another left-handed hitter. And Rosario helped him out. That was a ball.
Well, that's what the A's are hoping that Kepler might do, but he's a little bit more patient than Rosario, because this could have been 3-1. Now it's 2-2. As he went after a pitch, there's no way, even if he hit it, it's probably gone straight up in the air.
That one not close. Now it's 3-2. This is Axford's first appearance in this series. The 3-2 pitch is hit foul, left side. Sonny Gray went 6 today. Worked out of trouble. Gave up just 1 run. Zubczynski faced 2 hitters this inning, gave up a walk and a single. So another 3-2 coming up. And that one's hit to left field. Davis hustling over. Davis toward the corner. He's got it. Dozier will tag. Dozier will come in to score. And it's 3-0 Twins.
Pretty impressive at bat by Rosario, swinging wildly at the 2-1 pitch. Bob Melvin he's going to bring in Schuster to face Centeno, but a good pitcher's pitch down and away. But Davis getting to the ball, slicing away from him, and easily scoring is Dozier, and that's a big run because that makes it 3-0, especially with Santana pitching the way he is.
So Schuster coming in for the second game in a row. 3-0 Twins.
Baseball on CSN California is brought to you by Toyota, the full-line automaker with the longest-lasting vehicles in America. Toyota, let's go places. And by Xfinity. X1 from Xfinity will change the way you experience TV.
Well, Patrick Schuster comes in. He made his major league debut last night. And the first batter he faced, he struck out on 3 pitches. Well, that was the good news. Family was excited. He went back out there for the next inning, though, gave up a couple of base runners, and then they both scored on Hendricks' home run. They're back. And they're going to enjoy his second big league outing.
And there are his numbers, and without the home run, he would have escaped without an earned run, considering there was a pass ball in the inning. But the Sano opposite field home run changed everything. That was against Liam Hendricks.
Slider to Centeno is low. Centeno is 1 for 3. He has doubled and grounded out twice. 2 runs in here in the bottom of the 7th for the Twins to tack on to their lead. It's now 3-0. Good pitch there with a fastball.
Bob Melvin was, of course, you know, he's always going to try to pick the best situation, and he said he wanted the best one, and that was with Kepler, lefty on lefty, for him to make his debut, and he struck him out on 3 pitches, as we showed. But the skipper said as he came in, he said, have fun, and he said he had that stoic look on his face like, this is serious. It's just the pitcher, Schuster, and even he came in after the strikeout, that same look. So I don't know if it was debut and you had those nerves of nobody's going to distract me or what, but skipper trying to make it light, and Schuster didn't like it. He said, got my game face, and he had it on, striking out Kepler on 3 pitches. That's good.
1-2 pitch is tapped right side of the mound. Schuster has it on to first. Side retired. 2 runs on a couple of hits. There was also a couple of walks. So 8th inning coming up. Twins 3, A's nothing.
From 5:05 to 7:05 p.m. before the A's take on the Toronto Blue Jays. Each special ticket includes 2 pours, a commemorative Pilsner glass, and a game ticket. Breweries scheduled to appear include Ballast Point, Drake's, Firestone Walker, Lagunitas, and more. Go to athletics.com/craftbeerfest to purchase tickets. Should be a great evening prior to the game, and then a great game. That'd be a Friday. That'd be an A team. Now trying to get the A team against this pitcher who has been outstanding.
Drops a little breaking ball in. 1-1 the count. Vogt, Butler, and Alonso top of the 8th. 3-0 Twins lead.
Well, if Santana has any scouts watching today, they've been impressed, because the A's hitters have not done much of anything against him, and other than the one double, Billy Butler, he's pitched out of the windup.
Decent ratio at 85 pitches, 54 strikes. So the count even now 2-2. Vogt has struck out looking, and he has grounded to first. Santana retired 14 in a row, and then Butler got the double, and then since then 7 in a row. Drive towards center, and that'll be a hit. 1 hop to Rosario. All right, Ray, we did this for you. Who has the better form? See, I think you look clearly bobbleheads in the squat. Hello Kitty or Ray Fozzie. I think yours is better.
Yeah.
Plus, you know what? Hello Kitty is given the target too early, right?
Yeah, that's right.
See, look, you haven't even given the target.
Well, it's because, I figured I'd broadcast longer than I played, so I want to make sure I had the broadcaster, the microphone in the right hand instead of a baseball.
Hello Kitty's one-dimensional. You were a player and a broadcaster.
What would they come up with next? Wow. I hate to even imagine. We haven't been to Cleveland yet.
Be careful. Make a trip to your hometown and get some more photos. No, it could be 2, and it is. Nicely turned double play by the Twins. See Santana hustling over there, and ends up being a 3-6-1 double play. And just like that, 2 outs. Hey, Butler had the right idea. He's trying to shoot it to right field. That's where the hole is.
That hit too slowly, and now, and you're right, pitcher PFP get over as quickly as possible, because you got to get a strong throw, and Santana was the target by getting to first base instead of the shortstop, who has a very strong arm, as we have seen in Santana. He was going to throw it.
So now Alonso hits with 2 outs. First pitch in for a strike. Alonso has grounded out and hit a fly ball to center field. So now 91 pitches for Ervin Santana.
Well, with that double play and just the Billy Butler 2-out double, Santana's just faced 1 over the minimum, and it has been quite a performance by him.
So that's a pitch at 88 miles an hour. Was not his breaking ball. Maybe, I don't know, just a sinker. Or...
Yeah. They throw an occasional changeup.
Yeah, maybe it was a change.
Yeah, and basically what he has done is use the fastball, 2- and 4-seam fastball, the slider, occasional curveball, and now going through this part of the batting order, 4th time, brings in a changeup. Something new for the hitters. And they know he throws it, but he hasn't thrown it yet until now.
And he gets Yonder Alonso swinging for his 8th strikeout of the afternoon. So 3-0 Twins lead as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Game summary brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. 0-2-0 for the A's, 3-8-1 for the Twins. The story right now is Ervin Santana, 8 shutout innings, 93 pitches, so he's going to have a chance to finish it himself. So we'll see how that goes as the Twins come to bat here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Butler double, Vogt single. Those are the only 2 hits for the Athletics so far. So Marcus Semien, it'll be Semien, Landorf, and Burns in that top of the 9th inning. That one is cued up the line, and it just trickles foul.
And he said he hit his foot. Stephen Vogt has said he hit his foot.
It's pretty
kicked it foul, yeah. And that would be the first base umpire. Hopefully Jim Reynolds. Stephen was running down the line with it in case it stayed fair, and see if we can see the hitter do anything. He's trying to avoid it, and yeah, he jumped over it. Maybe Vogt thought he got it with his back foot as he right there as he stopped the ball, kept rolling, but no, I think he missed it completely. Check the foot when he jumps over. It's the back foot when he jumps right there and the ball keeps rolling. And the illusion there is the ball hit his foot, but I don't think it did. Another angle showed that it missed it.
It kicked a little dirt up on
yeah.
the ball. So it'll be a strike, 0-1 to Danny Santana. Nunez to follow, and then Grossman. Patrick Schuster got the final out in the 7th. So that's a swing, huh?
Yes.
Wow. 0-2 the count. Santana's got a single and a double. So he is 4 for 11 in the series. That pitch not close. Fouled at the plate. It trickles back to Nunez in the on-deck circle. Rangers and the Red Sox will play tonight at Fenway. That'll be the rubber game of that 3-game series. Perez and Wright. Matchup.
Right, an all-star, but a knuckleballer.
He is, yeah. 9-5 with a 2.42 ERA. Too shabby.
Let's see, you've got Perez, Wieters, and both. Neither one hope they have to catch you.
That's true.
Mr. Wright, why don't you take the evening off, just enjoy the festivities? But if he's pitching tonight, on Wednesday he won't pitch. He'll be available next Tuesday.
Oh, he'll be available for multiple innings.
So they're bringing Doug Mirabelli just for a token.
Yeah.
To catch the knuckleball.
Or bringing his glove, right?
Well, that's
the big,
true.
The big catcher's glove.
Well, Tom Candiani said he always carried the big catcher's mitt just so that the catcher would be able to use that, whoever it might have been. Jason Varitek never liked to catch knuckleballers. It's Tim Wakefield. Russell Martin has to deal R.A. Dickey in Toronto.
Two and two again to Danny Santana. And now 3-2 on a very close pitch.
Good thing Schuster does with his slinging curveball, he changes speeds. He's had this hitter Santana out in front, cooling off the end of the bat, and threw that last one very hard, didn't get the call.
In the air, hit well to right center. Burns going back, and Burns is going to watch it hit off the top of the wall, and Santana's going to round second. Santana's going to go to third, and he stops there as that ball rolled a long ways back toward the infield, and it's a leadoff triple. So that was close to going out.
That's impressive swing with the pitch away to have that power going to right center. And see the speed of Santana. It's his third hit. Home run shy of the cycle, which the ball just kept coming back flat-footed, and the right center almost into the seats. And when it kicked back off the wall over the head of Josh Reddick, that enabled Santana, stumbling as he did, to get to third easily.
So here's Nunez, RBI opportunity as the A's bring the infield in. And Nunez takes inside. He is 1 for 4 today. He is 4 for 13 in this series. Big swing, fouled it back. Now look at the Rangers schedule. That game tonight in Boston is the end of a 10-game road trip for them. And then they will go home and they will host these Twins for a 4-game series. But then in the second half, Ray, they start with a 9-game road trip.
So a token four-game homestand.
Exactly. So even though the All-Star break is in there, they're playing 19 of 23 on the road. You do not see that very often.
Yeah, you're right, but you know, for them, they've played well.
Burns hustling back again. Still going back, and he makes the catch at the warning track, plenty deep to get Santana home. And another insurance run for the Twins. It's now 4-0.
Well, the Twins don't think the ball carries well here, but boy, these last two hitters, Santana and now Nunez, he almost drove it out at the 403 mark. Without the great speed by Billy Burns tracking it all the way, knowing the run was going to score, just wanted to get the out, but well, a long blast.
So base is empty now. A run in. Here's Grossman. Mariners and the Astros finishing up their series tonight in Houston. Astros going for the sweep. Mike Fiers will pitch, so he will not pitch against the A's this weekend. Base hit left field. So Grossman, who has walked twice and now he singles. So the pitching probables for this upcoming 4-game series down in Houston. Hill and Pfister tomorrow. Migden and McHugh on Friday. Graveman and McCullers on Saturday. Minaya and Keuchel on Sunday. So that is your pitching matchups. You'll see all 4 games right here in CSN California. Astros are playing extremely well. They have won 13 out of their last 16. 6 games over 500, 7.5 back in the West. So you're seeing a team that's really heating up.
And without their all-star shortstop making the all-star team.
Also, there was a lot of talk about Ian Kinsler not making it. Yeah. Kinsler's having a really good year. There's always going to be a group that should go and are not going. It's not a lot you can really do about it. Now it rolls over on that one to second for 1, and Simeon will hold on to it for the second out. So Joe Mauer with 3 hits coming into that at bat. Fielder's choice there. So 2 away here in the bottom of the 8th. Angels and the Rays continue their series tonight in Florida. That's game 3 of a 4-game set. Weaver and Smiley. Angels, they're not going home either. They will go to Baltimore this weekend and finish the first half of the season on the East Coast.
And look forward to that 6-hour flight going home to start the break Sunday night. Well, you know, getaway day for the Red Sox to think about a day game is impossible. And for the Rangers to have to play the night. And some look at a 4 o'clock start as the latest in the afternoon, the earliest in the evening, and really doesn't help a team that has to travel west or any place really.
Rolled foul. So 0-2 to Dozier. Tigers did beat the Indians 12-2 this afternoon. Cubs playing a day game at Wrigley. They lead the Reds 3-1 in the 5th. Cubs got to make sure they get all their all-stars to San Diego. They may need to charter a flight.
They probably already have it planned. Where do they finish this weekend?
No, not sure.
Well, you know, San Diego's on the road.
No, San Diego's on the road. High fly ball to right. Reddick waits. He's got it, and another run for the Twins. So last shot for the A's. It's 4-0. Santana's heading out. He's looking for the shutout.
Unite at the Coliseum, where fans can bring their dogs to the A's 7:05 p.m. game against the Tampa Bay Rays. Special ticket is required for Bark at the Park, presented by Aviderm, Nylabone, and PetSmart. This event sells out annually and limited tickets remain. For information and tickets, visit athletics.com/bark to register for this special night.
So 14 career complete games, 7 career shutouts from Ervin Santana, and he is dealing today. Just 2 hits for the A's. Toward left center. Under it is the center fielder. And that's Rosario, and that's 1 out. I think the ability to throw a breaking ball for a strike is what is going to stand out to me with Ervin Santana, and that's not anything new with him.
Yeah, it's been consistent throughout his career. You're right.
So with 1 out, Tyler Ladendorf steps up. The A's have been shut out 3 times this year. First pitch swinging is popped up on the infield near second base. 2 outs.
And there's your 1 over the minimum right here, and Billy Burns coming up. This will be the 28th batter he's faced today. And that is impressive.
First pitch to Burns. Strike on the inside corner. Burns today is 0 for 3. Just a little bit inside that time. So this will be pitch number 100 coming up from Ervin Santana. On the ground is short. Santana throws on the run. It's dug out by Joe Mauer, and that is the ball game. So a terrific performance this afternoon by Ervin Santana. He gets his 8th career shutout. And he and the Twins win it today, and they take the series over the Oakland Athletics. Time of game 2 hours and 45 minutes in front of 27,657 here at Target Field. Final score: the Minnesota Twins 4 and the Oakland Athletics 0. You've been watching A's baseball on CSN California. It's all part of the NBC Sports Group. Don't go away. A's Postgame Live with Brody Brazil and Carney Lansford starts right now.